Okay, it's time for the second out of three readings of Oedipus. Last time we read, um, I think, two choral odes and two episodes. Today we're going to read two episodes and one choral ode, and then that will leave two choral odes and one episode for the part three. Um, all you need to remember, I think, is that they're trying to figure out who killed Laius, and we know that it's Oedipus. um, they sent Tiresias to go talk to the oracle or go get the signs from the oracle. And he came back and he basically said, "Yeah, I figured out who the killer of Laius is. It's you," because he was tempted by. I mean, he was yelled at and by by Oedipus. And Oedipus decided, you know what? I think Creon, my well brother-in-law, he thinks it's his brother-in-law. It's his brunkle. Um, is trying to take over the kingdom, and he asked Tiresias to say this so that I would be kicked out. And so now we're about to start where Creon enters, and they're going to have an argument about, you know, Creon trying to deceive everybody and trick everyone and get rid of King Oedipus. So Creon enters and he says, "Citizens, they tell me that King Oedipus has laid slanderous accusation on me. I will not bear it. If he thinks that I have done him any harm by word or act in this calamitous hour, I will not live. Life is too long a time to hear such scandal. Nay, more than scandal, a grievous imputation. If you, my friends, my country, call me traitor." This reminds me of all the scandals that are going on nowadays, and I'm not saying that they're all true or none of them are true. I'm just saying they had scandals back when this was written, like in BC, and I'm sure we'll have political scandals forever. Right? Nay, more than life is too long a time to hear such scandal. Nay, more than scandal, a grievous imputation. If you, my friends, my country, call me traitor. I'm having deja vu. And the chorus says, "The words I think were spoken in the stress of anger, ill considered." The chorus is kind of a neutral position. They always want to hear all the facts and don't take sides, which I really like, until the truth comes out. Crayon, so they try to stay unemotional about it. Creon, not Crayon. Creon says, "And did he say the prophet lied under my instigation?" The chorus says, "He did. With what intention, I cannot tell. We don't know why he said that." Creon said with unflinching eye, "Was it deliberate, this accusation that he made against me?" Like he wasn't just joking. Um, the chorus says, "I do not scrutinize my master's actions, but here he comes." So I'm not going to try to make assumptions or figure out his intentions, why he did it. But here he comes. Why don't you ask him yourself? Enter Oedipus. "Well, sir, what brings you here? Have you the face to stand before my door, proved plotter against my life, thief of my crown?" Okay, he hasn't been proved, right? In Oedipus's mind, he's already decided that, you know, Creon is guilty without having any proof, which is very typical, right? Um, I know for a fact when you don't have evidence. Um, "Do you take me for a coward or a fool? Did you suppose I wanted eyes to see the plot preparing, wits to counter it?" Again, with the eyes, right? They always talk about eyes and darkness and that kind of stuff. So just keep that in mind. Uh, "And what a foolish plot, you without backing of friends or purse, to go in quest of kingship. Kingdoms are won by men and money bags." Hear my reply. And when you know, then judge, right? Don't judge me until you actually know what's going on. Okay? That's good point. Good point. "I doubt your eloquence will teach me much. You are my bitterest enemy that I know." By the way, if you're filling out that chart and you're trying to look for a fault in Oedipus, this is a pretty good one, right? But okay. Uh, First, let me tell you. Tell me anything except that you are honest. Can you believe this obstinacy does you any good? That's a fault, right? Obstinate is to be stubborn. Can you believe that you may carry on intrigues against your house and go scot-free? I should be a fool to believe it. Tell me, though, what wrong you think I have done. So let's just start with the facts. I like the way Creon's handling this. He says, okay, why don't you make your accusation first so I hear it straight from your mouth? Then I can counter it with facts, right? Was it you that made me bring that canting prophet here? He's talking about Tiresias. It was, and I would do the same again. Tell me, how long ago did Laius what? I do not understand. How long is it since Laius disappeared? A long time now, longer than I can say. Was this old prophet at his business then? Yes, held in equal honor as then as now. Like he's very reputable, Tiresias. Um, in those days, did he ever mention me? Well, not in my hearing. Was there no inquest made into his death? So did they ever try to find out who killed Laius back then, back in the day when he was killed? Indeed, there was in vain, like they didn't find anything. And the main and the sorry, I'm right here. And the man of wisdom, Tiresias, was he silent then? I do not presume to say more than I know. Okay, again, that's smart. Like I'm not going to say anything that I remember or that I know. I'm just sticking with the facts, and I don't know. One thing you know and would be wise to confess. Well, what I know, I will freely confess. What do I know? This, that without your prompting, the fortune teller would never have dared to name me the killer of Laius. Well, if he did so, you know best, but give me leave, as you have questioned me, to question you. Ask on. You cannot prove me guilty of blood. Are you my sister's husband? Okay, so dramatic irony, because we know, yes, but also he's also his sister's son. Sir, I am. And she your equal partner in rule and possession? Yes, all that she can desire is hers by right. And have I a third and equal share of honor? Yeah, you have. So much the more you're proven falseness. But I deny it. Reason with yourself. So okay, this is an important point. The kingdom is shared by three people. They have equal amount of power and wealth. It's Oedipus, Jocasta, and Creon. Creon is Jocasta's brother, so he gets to stay in the palace and have all the wealth and power that he wants. He may not be king, so he might not have the ultimate power, but he still has a lot of influence, right? So he said, okay, given those facts, let's use reason now. Okay. Would any man exchange a quiet life with royal rank assured for an uneasy throne? To be a king in name was never part of my ambition, enough for me to live a kingly life. What more could any moderate man desire? I have your ear for all my fair requests, but in your place I should have much to do that irked me. How could kingship please me more than royalty and rule without regret? I apologize for that. I am not yet so besotted as to seek more honors than are good for me. I stand in all men's favor. I am all men's friend. Why those who seek your audience ask for me? Why those who seek your audience ask for me, knowing that way the surest to success. So if people want things, they ask me to ask you because they know that if they ask you, you might say no. But if I ask you, you usually say yes because you usually give me what I want. Right? And would I change this life for the other? No. None but a fool would be so faithless. Treason? That's not my policy, nor if I know it, the policy of any friend of mine. So he's making a really good point. Now, again, this isn't proof. He's using facts to create his logic. And here's his logic. I get everything that you get without all the headaches of being king. I don't have to make big decisions. I don't have people, asking me for things. Well, I guess he kind of does, but he doesn't have to make tough decisions. All he has to do, if people ask me for things, I just ask you, and then you have to make that decision. So why in the world would I change my situation? I already have everything I want without any of the things that I don't want. I have no interest in all that headache that comes with being king. So if your argument is that I want money and power, I already have it, right? I may not have quite as much power as you, but you give me everything I want. So I pretty much do. Um, okay, that's a good argument. It's not proof, but it's an argument, right? Based on facts. To test me first, so he says, hey, not only that's my argument, now you can test me, right? First, go to the Pythian shrine, ask if the message I brought back was true. Second, prove me guilty of any compact with the soothsayer. Then take me and condemn to death. My voice will join with yours in the sentence. But charged behind my back on blind suspicion, I will not be. To slur a good man's name with baseless slander is one crime. Another is rashly to mistake bad men for good. Okay, so a couple things here. One, if you think that I'm making this thing up about, the oracle saying that they want us to find out who the killer of Laius is, go ask them. Like, you can go to that shrine. They were there. They can corroborate my story. They can tell you that that's what actually happened. So I didn't just make that up. And then the second thing is, if you want to accuse me of um, making a compact or a deal with Tiresias to get rid of you, that's fine. You're allowed to do that. Um, but prove me guilty of that and then condemn me to death. Like, let's go through the process like that you're supposed to go through. Um, you have to prove that first. You have to find evidence and do all that stuff. So it's a crime to slander someone, to say that this thing is true without any evidence of it. You can't just slander someone's name, and it's true today. It's illegal, right? To a certain degree, like, yeah. And so the other crime is to rashly mistake bad men for good. Um, to confuse who's good and who's bad. So cast out an honest friend and you cast out your life, your dearest treasure. Like, you should be careful here. I'm on your side. But if you're gonna make accusations about that, you're gonna lose a friend, and that's gonna be a big problem for you. Um, Time will teach the truth of this, for time alone can prove the honest man. One day proclaims the sinner. So, beyond hubris and teaching people not to have hubris, the story is kind of teaching us how to properly solve a problem. It's not to like yell and scream and make all these accusations on social media. They didn't have social media, but you know what I mean. Um, it's instead go to the person's face, right? Discuss, talk about it, find evidence, find the truth, and then proceed from there. Something that seems to not happen very often anymore, right? But it's good advice. The chorus says, because they're wise, good words and fitting for a prudent man to hear and heed. Quick thoughts are seldom safest, right? Like, if you try to act on something too quickly, then you are going to, oftentimes not be correct. And so, uh, good words. Quick thoughts are seldom fast. When a quick plotter's on the move, my friend, it's safest to be quick in counter plotting. Am I to sit and wait for him and lose my opportunity while he takes his? So Oedipus's counter to that is like, look, I don't have time for this. I can't sit around and gather evidence on this. Like, he's moving quickly. I'm going to lose out. Um, what is he going to do? He can't take over the throne. I mean, That's what Oedipus is saying. He's going to take over the throne before I find the evidence. Yeah. Is he? I don't know. When do you want then? Will you banish me? Well, by no means. I would have you dead, not banished. Wow, Oedipus is really going after him. If you can show in any way that I have wronged you, still clinging to your obstinate arguments, all Creon wants is evidence. Like, just show some evidence, right? Because I know you're wrong. Well, I know I am right. In your own eyes, not mine. Right there again with the eyes, right? In your eyes, in your own brain, in your own thought process, you're right. But your thought process is not the truth. It's just your own belief system, right? And Oedipus says, you're a knave. So all he's doing is just calling, he's name calling, but he doesn't have any evidence in this argument. Well, what if you're mistaken? Kings must rule. He's just like, hey, listen, I'm the king. It happens. That's terrible. That is a terrible argument. Not when they rule unjustly. Hear him, Thebes, my city. Yours? Is she not also mine? And, the elders are getting like a little worried here because they're yelling at each other. Sirs, enough. Here comes the Queen Jocasta. Now remember, Jocasta is Oedipus's husband, but also Creon's brother. So she's going to come in between them because she, values her brother just as much as her husband, or at least close. So she doesn't want them fighting. She should be able to compose this quarrel. Do you quarrel soon? Enter Jocasta from the palace. What is the meaning of this loud argument, you quarrelsome men? I wonder you are not ashamed in this time of distress to air your private troubles. Like, why are you arguing in public? Come in, my husband, and Creon, you go home. You're making much of some unimportant grievance. Not so, sister. Your husband Oedipus condemns me out of hand with terrible sentence, a choice of death or banishment. It is true. I have found him craftily plotting against my person. May the curse of heaven rest on me forever if I am guilty of any such design. For the love of God, believe it, Oedipus, for his oath's sake. Oh, believe it, and for mine and theirs who are here to witness. Like, she's basically siding with her brother right now. She's like, oh no, you need to believe him. And the chorus says, consent, O king, consent, be merciful and learn to yield. So again, this is his fault. One of his faults is that he doesn't, he's not listening to reason, right? He's too emotional about it. His oath should be his seal. Oh, sorry. And why should I repent? His oath should be his shield. Like he's swearing, which is, back then it was honor, you wouldn't swear on something if it wasn't true. Because if you swore and then you were found to be false, then your honor is gone forever. There weren't a lot of people around, so everyone knew if somebody lied, right? Who never played you for false. You know for what you pray? We know. Say more. He swore his friendship. Is it right to cast away a friend condemned unheard upon an idle word? So again, friendship and loyalty and all that, it was a much bigger deal way back in the day. And not that it's not important to some people today, but if you said your word, if you gave your word, then that meant something, because you wouldn't give your word unless it was true, unless you were really willing to risk your whole family name being destroyed, right? And the other thing they're saying is that, a friend condemned and unheard, you won't even listen to his arguments. Right? In asking this, you are asking my death or banishment. Oh, forbid the thought. Oh, by the Lord of life, the Son forbid. Lost may I be to God and man, if it was ever mine. But while our people pine, my heart is racked anew. If you, my princes, add your strife to our old misery. So no, you're not going to be banished or killed. And you two fighting is making this whole situation a lot worse. Then let him go, even though it means my death or exile and disgrace. Your voice, not his, has won my mercy. Him I hate forever. He holds quite a grudge. In mercy obdurate, as harsh in anger. Such forces earn self-torture. Will you be gone? I will, unjustly judged by you alone. So Creon leaves. That's the end of their argument. Um, and the chorus says, persuade, madam, persuade the king to go a while apart. Jocasta says, well, how is this trouble made? Wild surmise and the smart of baseless calumny grew hot. Their emotions, are getting out of hand. Each holding each to blame. Yes, that's what happened. Just so. For what? Ask not again. Enough our stricken country's shame to let this other rest. Don't even ask what the argument is right now. There's too much going on. We need to focus on other things. Where it remains, we're best. Like just forget about it for now. Oedipus says, a fine peacemaker's part your worships would have played. And the chorus responds, hear yet again, O king, believe us true. Could ours be such simplicity as rashly from his sheltering arms to stray, whose wisdom in the day of wrath upheld our land, whose hand again shall lead us through storm to tranquility? Just, you have to rule justly. Like you saved us back in the day, just stay calm, right? And Jocasta says, will you not tell me too? Tell me, I implore you, why you have conceived this terrible hatred against him. So she's pursuing it. She's like, no, I want to know what's going on, even though the chorus has said, don't ask. Yeah, I'll tell you. You are more to me than these good men. The fault is Creon's and his plot against me. Well, how was it his? What is the accusation? He says the murder of Laius was my doing. And Jocasta is like, well, what, from his own knowledge or other men's report? And there's his cleverness. He shields himself by using a rascally soothsayer as his tool. Oh, well then absolve yourself at once, for I can tell you no man possesses the secret of divination. I have proof. She says, you know what, all that, prophecies and oracles, that's not even true. I have proof. Okay, let's hear your proof. An oracle was given to Laius from Phoebus, no, uh, but from his ministers, that he should die by his own hands, by the hands of his child and mine. What came of it? Laius, it is common knowledge, was killed by outland robbers at a place where three roads meet. As for the child, it was not yet 3 days old when he cast it out by other hands, not his, with riveted ankles to perish on the empty mountainside. There then Apollo did not so contrive it. The offspring did not kill the father. The father, for all his fears, was killed, not by his son. Yet such were the prophet's warnings. Why should you then heed for a moment? What he intends, the God will show us in his own good time. Okay, this is very interesting. So Jocasta has just told Oedipus the oracle, the prophecy that she and Laius were given when Oedipus was born. That should be enough to make Oedipus go, wait a second, I've heard that prophecy too. Like, I feel like that should be enough to put two and two together, right? There's a child that is supposed to kill his father. He's like, well, wait a second. I had that prophecy too. I was supposed to kill my father. Like, isn't that enough right there? But then there's even more. We riveted your ankles to the ground, not yours, but the baby's. Like, we pin your, and he looks down and he's like, oh, I still have scars where somebody tried to pin me to the ground. And then he's like, well, wait a second. And she believes that the child was killed, right? But yet they don't put two and two together. So he doesn't think of it. But basically, she's using this to say, yeah. Those prophets, they don't know anything. Like, there was a prophecy that Laius was supposed to be killed by his son, and he wasn't killed by his son. He was killed by some robber. So, I don't believe him ever. Hmm. Dramatic irony, right? Okay. Oedipus says, my wife, what you said has troubled me. My mind goes back. Okay, so at least he makes one connection, and something in me moves. Why? What is the matter? How you turn and start? You're looking very nervous right now. Did you not say that Laius was killed at a place where three roads meet? Okay, that's the one detail he picks up on. I killed a man on my way here where the three roads meet. Huh, that's weird. You didn't catch any of the other stuff, but okay. Yeah, that was the story, and the story still. Where, in what country? In a land called Phocis, where the road divides, leading to Delphi and Dahlia. Well, how long ago did it happen? It became known a little time before your reign began. Oh God, what wilt thou do to me? Why, Oedipus, what weighs upon your mind? Oh, do not ask. But tell me, what was Laius like? How old? He was tall, silver frosted hair, about your figure. You know, it's funny. He looked a lot like you, as if you two were related. It's weird. uh, wretch. I am I unwittingly self cursed? What, my king? What is it? You frighten me. Had then the prophet eyes? Like, did he really see what was going on? Oh, is it possible to prove it certain? To prove it certain, tell me one thing more. You frighten me. I will tell you all I know. How is the king attended? By a few or in full state with numerous bodyguard? 5 men in all, a herald leading them, one carriage only, in which the king Laius rode. So she's describing the scene where Oedipus killed somebody. He's like, oh man, that's exactly like what happened to me, except I was the one that murdered him. Uh, Clearer, alas, too clear. Who told you this? A servant, the only survivor that returned. Is he still in the household? No, when he came back and found you king in his late master's place, he earnestly begged me to let him go away into the country and become a shepherd. Far from the city's eyes, I let him go. Poor fellow, he might have asked a greater favor. He was a good slave. Okay, this is very important. So Oedipus killed Laius and killed everyone that was attending him, except for one guy. And that one guy kind of left for a while. In the meantime, while that one guy was gone, Oedipus goes to Thebes, answers the riddle of the Sphinx, becomes king. In the meantime, that guy that escaped comes back to the city, finds the guy who killed the king is now the king, freaks out, asks the queen, you've got to let me go. You have to let me become a shepherd. I don't want to be here anymore. Because he's worried that if, Oedipus sees him, he's going to kill him or say something or whatever. So, all right. They have a lot of evidence, but they're not putting these things together and figuring it out. Could we have him here without delay? I need that witness here. He needs to tell me if I'm the person who killed the king, right? We could. Why do you ask? Oh, wife, I fear that I have said too much, and therefore I must see this man. Okay, I will at least give it to Oedipus. He does want to know the truth at this point. He's not running away. He doesn't realize what's going on and go, oh no, I need to cover this up. Like, he actually wants to find the evidence. So that's good. Well, you shall see him. Meantime, may I not hear what weighs so heavily on your heart? You shall. So Oedipus is now going to tell us the story of how he killed Laius. He doesn't know it was Laius, but he's going to tell the whole story. So here we go. If things are as I see them, you are the first to whom I would tell my story, except he's in public now, but okay. Listen then. My father was a Corinthian, Polybus. My mother, a Dorian, Merope. At home, I rose to be a person of some preeminence until a strange thing happened, a curious thing, though perhaps I took it to heart more than it deserved. One day at table, a fellow who had been drinking deeply made bold to say I was not my father's son. That hurt me. But for the time, I suffered in silence as well as I could. The next day, I approached my parents and asked them to tell me the truth. They were bitterly angry that anyone should dare to put such a story about it, and I was relieved. Yet somehow the smart remained. And a thing like that soon passes from hand to hand. So without my parents' knowledge, I went to Pytho, which is an oracle, but came back disappointed of any answer to the question I asked, having heard instead a tale of horror and misery, how I must marry my mother and become the parent of a misgotten brood, an offense to all mankind, and kill my father. Again, how does Jocasta not listen to that and go, wait a second, you're telling me that one, you are not the son of Oedipus, so you're son of somebody else, and two, you're supposed to kill your father, marry your brother. Like, how many prophecies are out there right now where someone's supposed to kill his father and marry his mom? Like, is this a common thing that happens all the time? She's like, oh, you have that too? Oh, so do I. Oh, that's weird. No, shouldn't she go, wait a second? But no, nobody does that. At least not yet. um, At this, I fled away, putting the stars between me and Corinth, never to see home again, that no such horror should ever come to pass. My journey brought me into the neighborhood where your late king met his end. Listen, my wife, this is the truth. When I came to the place where three roads join, I met a herald, followed by a herald, like the trumpet sound, followed by a horse-drawn carriage, and a man seated therein, just as you have described. The leader roughly ordered me out of the way, and his venerable master joined in with a surly command. It was the driver that thrust me aside, and I struck, for I was angry. The old man saw, leaning from the carriage, waited until I passed, then seizing for weapon the driver's two-pronged goad, struck me on the head. He paid with interest for his temerity. Quick as lightning, the staff in his right hand did its work. He tumbled headlong out of the carriage, and every man of them there I killed. So that's how it all went down. Basically, he was on the road. The king comes by, and the driver or the people in charge are like, hey, get out of the way. And he's like, no, I'm not getting out of the way. So the guy hits him. Um, and, oh, sorry, he doesn't hit him. Oedipus hits the guy. And because Oedipus hit the guy, Laius hits Oedipus, knocks him in the head, and then Oedipus kills everyone. End of story. But now, if the blood of Laius ran in this stranger's veins, is there any more wretched mortal than I, more hated by God and man? It is I whom no stranger, no citizen must take to his house. So at least he says, well, listen, if it's me, then nobody should take me in. I need to be banished, right? So at least he's kind of taking responsibility now. I to whom none may speak. On me is the curse that none but I have laid. His wife, these hands that killed him have touched her. Is this my sin? Am I not utterly foul? Now that's interesting. So here he's freaking out. He's like, oh man, I killed the guy who was husband to the woman I married. So, oh, this is so awful that I killed the man and then stole his wife. No, that's not the worst of it. It's way worse than that, but you'll find out. Um, Banished from here, and in my banishment debarred from home in my fatherland, which I must shun forever, lest I live to make my mother my wife and kill my father, Polybus, to whom I owe my life. Okay, so he still hasn't quite figured it out. He is starting to be willing to admit that he killed King Laius, but he doesn't admit that Laius is his father and that Jocasta is his mother. But he's at least willing to say, "Oh man, I might have killed Laius. It's possible." And this is terrible because if I'm banished, then I might have to go back to Polybus and kill him and marry Merope. So we haven't gotten that part of the puzzle fixed yet. Can it be any but some monstrous god of evil that has sent this doom upon me? Oh, never, never, holy powers above, may that day come. May I be sooner dead and blotted from the face of the earth than live to bear the scars of such vile circumstance. So that's interesting. Oedipus also wishes he was dead before he killed his dad and married his mom, just like Jocasta and Laius. Like everybody except the gods wants that, to be the case. But all right, the chorus says, "Sir, these are terrible words, but yet be hopeful until you learn the whole truth from our witness." So again, let's base everything on evidence and witnesses. "That is my only hope, to await the shepherd. And why? And why? What help do you expect from him?" Well, this: if we find his story fits yours, then I'm absolved. Then I didn't kill Laius. In what particular point? What did I say? You said he spoke of robbers, that robbers, plural, killed him. If he still says robbers, it was not I. One is not more than one, right? Like, it was just me. There's nobody else there. But if he speaks of one lone wayfarer, there's no escape. The finger points at me. I killed Laius. I have to be banished. Oh, but I assure you that's what he said. He cannot go back on it now. The whole town heard it, not only I. And even if he changes his story in some small point, he cannot in any event pretend that Laius died as was foretold. For Loxias said a child of mine should kill him. It was not to be, poor child. It was, he that died. A fig for divination. Those soothsayers and prophecies don't mean anything. After this, that's hubris. After this, I would not cross the road for any of it. Well, you're right. Still, let us have the shepherd here. Send one to fetch him. Jocasta says, "I will at once. Come in. I will do nothing other than your wish." So that was episode 3. Now we have the third choral ode, and then we'll read one more episode and then be done. So the chorus says, I only ask, so Oedipus and Jocasta go in, so it's just the chorus now. And basically, again, they're just praying to the gods. Okay. "I only ask to live with pure faith, keeping in world and deed that law which leaps the sky, made no mortal wound undimmed, unsleeping, whose living Godhead does not age or die." I ask to live with pure faith. Faith. Pride breeds the tyrant, swollen with ill-found booty. That's treasure. Okay. "From castle height, pride tumbles to the pit, all footing lost. Zeal stripped for civic duty, no laws abound. May God still prosper it. Who walks his own high-handed way, disdaining true righteousness and holy ornament? Who falsely wins, all sacred things profaning? Shall he escape his doomed pride's punishment? Shall he by armor be defended from God's sharp wrath, who casts out right for wrong? If wickedness for virtue be commended, farewell, sweet harmonies of sacred song. Like, I hope, I gotta turn this off. Messages keep showing up on my, up there. Anyway, who walks his own high-handed way, disdaining true righteousness and holy ornament, who falsely wins. Yeah, they're just saying that they hope that the truth is brought out. Otherwise, farewell, sweet harmonies of sacred song. Like, sacredness doesn't exist anymore. Like, farewell, Aegean and Olympian altar. Farewell, O heart of earth, inviolate shrine. If at this time your omens fail or falter, and man no longer own your voice divine. So they're just saying, oh, God save us, and if you can't help us, then we're absolutely lost, right? Zeus, if thou livest, all ruling, all pervading, awake, old oracles are out of mind, Apollo's name denied, and glory fading, his glory fading. There is no godliness in all mankind. So Zeus, please, save us. Right. All right. Jocasta comes back out. So now we're in episode 4. From the palace, carrying a garlanded branch and incense. She says, "My lords, I am minded to visit the holy temples, bringing in my hands these tokens of supplication and gifts of incense. The king is overwrought with fancies and can no longer sanely judge the present by the past, listening to every word that feeds apprehension. I can do nothing to comfort him. To thee, bright shining Apollo, who art nearest to my door, is my first prayer. Save us from the curse of this uncleanness. Save. We are afraid, seeing our master pilot distraught." So basically, she's just saying a prayer. Oedipus is freaking out. We need your help. She makes prayers, and then here comes the messenger from Corinth. The messenger says, "By your leave, strangers, I am seeking the house of Oedipus." Oh no, who's this guy? "Can you guide me or to him? Guide me to it or him, if you know where he is." The chorus says, "Well, this is the house, sir. He is within. This lady is his wife and the mother of his children." Uh, Dramatic irony. "Blessing attend her and all her house, true consort of such a man." Jocasta says, "Blessing on you, sir, and thanks for your kindly greeting. You bring a request or a message?" "Well, I bring good news for your husband, honorable lady, and for his house." "What news, and from whom?" "From Corinth. You cannot but be glad at the message." So somehow they knew that Oedipus went to Thebes, and they knew where to find him. So something happened in Corinth, and they wanted to get a message of that thing to Oedipus, and they knew how to find him. So it says, "What news, and from whom?" "From Corinth." I already said this. "You cannot but be glad at the message, though you may be distressed." So good news, bad news. "Well, what is it that can have such power to please and grieve?" "Our people," such was the talk, "will make him king of all isthmus." "Is Polybus king no longer?" "King Polybus, madam, is dead and in his grave." "Dead? The father of Oedipus?" "Aye, on my life." Jocasta says to an attendant, "Girl, to your master quickly, tell him the news." So that's interesting. So they're like, "Look, the king's dead. We need to go find the heir to the kingdom. We need to go find Oedipus to bring him home so he can be king." Well, she says, "Where are you now, divine prognostications? The man whom Oedipus has avoided all these years, lest he should kill him dead by natural death and by no act of his." She's like, "See, I told you these prophecies, they don't come true. He was supposed to kill his father. Now his father died of natural causes." How are these people not figuring this out? But Oedipus comes out. "My dear Jocasta, why have you called me out of doors again?" "Well, hear this man's news, and when you have heard it, say what has become of your famous oracles." "Well, who is this man? What news has he for me?" "He comes from Corinth. Your father, Polybus, is dead." "Dead!" I love how they're so excited about it. Like, that's sad. "What, sir? Tell me yourself." The messenger says, "I do assure you, sir, if you must have this first, he is gone the way of all mortality. By foul play or accident or of sickness, such little accident as puts the old to sleep." He basically just died in his sleep. "You mean he died of illness, poor old man?" That and the tale of years he has fulfilled. So he's just old. Well, well. So, wife, what of the Pythian fire, the oracles of prophesying birds that scream above us? I was to kill my father. Now he lies in his grave. And here I am, who never touched a weapon. Again, as hubris. You think you're outsmarting the gods, but you're not. Unless it could be said, grief at my absence killed him, and so I killed him. But no, the letter of the oracle is unfulfilled and lies like Polybus dead. Is that a pun? Huh. Uh, have I not said so all the while? I told you, I've been saying this for years. You have, my fear misled me. Well, think no more of it. Well, there is the other still to fear, my mother. Like, I'm still worried about Merope, right? I still don't want to go back there because I might end up marrying my mom. It just freaks me out. Right, Jocasta? Um, Fear, what is man to do with fear? Chance rules our lives, and the future is all unknown. Best live as best we may from day to day, nor need this mother marrying frighten you. Many a man has dreamt as much. Such kings must be forgotten if life is to be endured. Well, if she were dead, you might have spoken so with justice, but she lives. And while she lives, say what you will, I cannot cease to fear. As long as Merope is still alive, I'm still worried that I'm going to marry her. At least your father's death is a relief. Yeah, it's such a relief that your dad's dead. Wow. Um, agreed. But while she lives, I am not safe. And the messenger is like overhearing this, and he's like, I'm sorry, sir. Who's the woman whom you still fear? Well, it's Queen Merope, wife of Polybus. And she, how does your life her life endanger yours? There's an oracle. There's a deadly tenor. Uh, is it the one that may rightly be uttered to a stranger? Like, can you tell me about this? Yeah, Loxias said I was foredoomed to make my mother my wife and kill my father, but with my own hand shedding his blood. This is the reason of my long estrangement from Corinth, and I have fared well, though nothing can fulfill the place of absent parents. Like I've done pretty well, right? So the messenger says, "Well, wait a second. Was that the fear that has banished you all this while? Like, is that the reason you left?" Well, yeah. I was determined not to kill my father. Ah, well, let me let me rid you of that fear, of that other fear. I came to do you good. Hey, I got some good news for you. This is awesome. My gratitude shall not be stinted. Uh, and if the truth were told, to do myself good on your coming home. Like when I tell you the truth, you're going to want to come home right away. Um, Home? No, 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 never, never beneath my parents' roof. Um, well, my dear young man, you were deceived. How so? Good sir, for God's sake, tell me. And the messenger says, will this fear that bars you from your home? I that. The word of Polybus may yet be true for me. No, the story of pollution through your parents? Yeah, I'm gonna marry my mom. Yeah. That it's my ever-present torment. It's all idle. Your fears are groundless. They're in vain. Like you don't have to worry that you might kill Polybus and marry Merope. Do you know why? Uh, how can that be, seeing I'm their son? No, you're not their son. Polybus is not your dad. Well, Polybus is no kin of yours. No kin? Polybus is not my father? Well, who is my father? It's all dramatic irony. Well, no more than I'm your father. Come, sir. No more than you. Explain yourself. I am not your father, neither is Polybus. Well, how comes it, then, that I was called his son? I can tell you. You were given to him by me. What? Okay. This messenger happens to be the exact same messenger. There was the shepherd that took Oedipus when Oedipus was a kid, right? Like Jocasta sent her servant out to kill Oedipus, and that servant gave Oedipus to a shepherd. This messenger is that shepherd. Small world, right? Uh, Given, and yet you loved me. Yet he loved me as his son. Well, he had no other son. That's why he loved you as a son. Was I found or bought? Yeah, you were found in a wooded hollow of Citharon. Okay, this should all be. um, that's where he was supposed to be left. Jocasta should be freaking out right now. Well, what brought you there? Sheep tending on the mountain? Sheep tending on the mountain, right? I was a shepherd. Were you a hireling shepherd then? Yeah, I was. And by that happy chance, you're a rescuer. Well, why? Was I in pain or danger when you took me? The infirmity in your ankles tells the tale. Like, look at your ankles. They're all swollen, right? Swollen foot. Yeah. Oh, that old trouble. Need we mention it? Well, your ankles were riveted, right? You had a pin in your feet. So if Jocasta's paying attention, she should understand now. She should be able, wait a second. I sent my servant to put pins in your feet so that you would die. And yet this guy is telling me that he found a kid with pins in his feet and he took him and he brought him to Corinth, and now he's here and I married him and he might have killed me. Like, she should be figuring this out, right? We don't know how she's reacting to this. Um, it is true. I have carried the stigma from my cradle. Um, to it you owe your present name, right? Oh gods, was this my father's or my mother's doing? I cannot say. Ask him who. Ask the person who gave you to me, right? You need to ask the shepherd or the servant who is hired by Jocasta and Laius. um, to kill you. She's standing right there. You should ask her. No, they don't. Nobody knows this, right? All he knows is that some guy, some shepherd or some servant gave you to me. Um, gave me. Did you not find me then yourself? Another shepherd entrusted you to my care. And who is he? Can you tell us who he was? I think he was said to be one of Laius's men. Laius, our former king? Why, yes, King Laius. The man was one of his servants. Okay. If Jocasta is not freaking out right now, she's not paying attention. He just said that uh, that Oedipus was a baby that was taken from Laius, that Laius hired some guy to, put pins in this baby's feet. But instead, the guy gave Oedipus to him, and he gave Oedipus to, the king of Corinth, and now he's here. This should be crystal clear to Jocasta what's happening. Okay. Uh, where am I? Why, yes, King Laius, the man was one of his servants. Is he alive? And could I see him? Your people here should know. Good men. Does any of you know the fellow, the shepherd of whom he speaks? Has anyone seen him in the pastures or in the city? Speak if you know. Now is the chance to get to the bottom of this mystery. The chorus says, I think he will prove to be the same countryman whom you have already asked to see. Oh, interesting. You're telling me, this is indeed a small world, that the survivor of the Oedipus attack, when Oedipus killed Laius, the guy who survived that was also the same servant who Laius and Jocasta gave Oedipus to him to kill him. And they have already sent for him. He's on his way right now. So they can ask him 2 questions, right? Um, the queen is the one most able to tell you if this is so. My wife, do you know the man whom we have sent for? Is that the man he means? So now we get to find out Jocasta's reaction to all of this. Let's see what she's been doing. Jocasta is white with terror. She knows exactly what's going on. She's just realized that Oedipus is her son and that she's been married to him and has had kids with him, and that he probably also killed Laius. She's white with terror. Well, what does it matter? What the man he means? It makes no difference. Or forget what he has told you. It makes no difference. No. We don't. No. Nope. We're not talking about this. Goodbye. Nonsense. I must pursue this trail to the end, till I have unraveled the truth of my birth. No. Nope. In God's name, if you want to live, this quest must not go on. Have I not suffered enough? And he must be, have you not suffered? No, this has nothing to do with you. No, it has a lot to do with her. There's nothing to fear. Though I may be proven slave born to the 3rd generation, your honor is not impugned. Okay, so he thinks that she's freaking out because he's not actually a king, like a prince, like royalty. So her royal name, is going to be, dragged through the dirt. Nope, it's much worse than that. Yet do not do it. I implore you, do not do it. I must. I cannot leave the truth unknown. I know I am right. I am warning you for your good. My good has been my bugbear long enough. Oh, doomed man! Oh, never live to learn the truth. Go, someone fetch the shepherd. Leave the lady to enjoy her pride of birth. Like, she's freaking out. Just let her freak out. We need to go find that servant and take care of this, right? Jocasta says, "Oh, lost and damned, this is my last and only word to you forever." Foreshadowing, you can all guess right now what she's about to go do. So she says, "You are a doomed person. I am never going to speak to you again." And she takes off. She goes in the castle, in the palace. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where we are going to end it. That is quite the... And just so you know, these videos might be very long. However, this is how we usually read it in class. We usually read the whole thing in 3 days. And this is usually where I end day 2. So, all right, we made it. We have 1 day left. The 3rd day is a little bit shorter, the reading. So this has gone on super long. Don't worry. It'll be a little bit shorter tomorrow, and then we'll be done. And we all know where this is going. Thanks for listening. See you later.